Hey everybody, how you doing? Hmm. Yes, we're live and it's late, but I look at it this way: it is 9:18 in the Pacific. Um, that's how I look at it. All right, this is a different kind of live stream, and as I promised when I first formed it, I apologize for being late getting it going, but it's been hectic of late. I wanted to do this just to sit down and address questions that are out there that I've seen that deserve answers. So you wonder what I'm drinking, by the way. Hmm. This is a mixture of ginger crystals, powdered turmeric, and licorice root extract. It's good for a great many things. Anyway, if you had to ask me where everything was right now, I would say that last week was the most consequential week in Oakland A's history that you didn't see. The one you did see, of course, was the legislature passing SB 1, which was called SB 509, the Southern Nevada Tourism and Innovation Act. Remember that? That's what they called it. But the other one, this was it. And you're going to say, huh? What? But I'll explain. But let me show you first what that something was. This. Yeah. MSG Sphere. This is on Twitter. Maybe if I can get a full line breakout kind of view like that. How's that? MSG Sphere. Yes. On the 4th of July, this, what I predicted 2 months ago, would be the eighth wonder of the world, put on a dazzling show that has set the process of Las Vegas transformation in motion. It said that among all the cities in the world, only Las Vegas can make this happen. That's what it said. It elevated Las Vegas cutting edge, can do, we are the place for fun and entertainment image into orbital proportions. Literally, it's shaped like a planet, right? But the MSG sphere did what I said it was going to do. It's going to capture the imagination of the world. And there's no question that's exactly what happened. This has had an incredible impact already on Las Vegas. Absolutely incredible. This is the one device, and really technically it is that, at $2 billion, that can, if it were replicated in any city, replace the loss of a sports team. But it just so happens Las Vegas has this and that. So this was the first thing. The second thing was, and you would say, Zennie, still doesn't make any sense to me. The idea that Las Vegas is happening, that it's the place to be, and it solidifies everyone's excitement in making the athletics ballpark happen. And since the Las Vegas ballpark for the Oakland A's hasn't been truly designed yet, that was just a mock-up we saw. You know what it actually says, folks? It says too that, hey, we better rethink what we are considering about a ballpark because of what we just saw with MSG Sphere. MSG Sphere just raised the bar for every entertainment organization, every developer that even thinks of doing anything in Las Vegas, even something that might be just boring and mundane. Now it's got to be cool and exciting. This is going to usher in a never before seen era of Las Vegas. Mark my words. Mark my words. This is far beyond Oakland losing out to Las Vegas. This is about Las Vegas quite literally growing before our eyes. That's what that was about. The other happening, I don't need to show you on video, but maybe I should, because it kind of got telegraphed out there during MSG Sphere. Actually, not kind of, it did. And what it was there was one particular moment that MSG Sphere, I mean, look at this stuff here. You got to look at this, okay? The MSG Sphere, look at this. Look at that, okay? There was one particular moment where Sphere, that's incredible. Okay, that's wild. All right, that is wild. And it will be just down the street from the athletics ballpark. Just down the street, okay? But what happened is they used this to do, among other things, advertise, yeah, this thing. The Summer League. All right, the Summer League. And do you know what happened at the Summer League that certainly caught my attention, maybe yours? Adam Silver said that I'm paraphrasing, that the Summer League is in Las Vegas because Las Vegas knows how to do big events. Okay? Now, Timpo says, yeah, I remember you said that the other day. It's incredible, right? John Mark says it is incredible. He says Oakland doesn't deserve sports. I disagree. Oakland does deserve sports. Oakland forgot how. Okay. So I have to mark this as a seminal moment in Las Vegas history, indeed in world development history, what happened last week. It has changed the axis of development and architectural design, and it will impact sports. Mark my words, it will. We don't know what the athletics ballpark is going to look like just yet. Keep that in mind. And they have a little time to work it out. So, which gets to my next point. For those of you who have said, hey, this is really a quiet time and nothing's going on, right? Here's the thing. There is something going on. They're working on the bond issue. And for those of you who've, talked to me about schools, and I actually monitored it, schools over stadiums website. Okay. This one that trying to get to come up right now, and it should be coming up right this. It's still, I pressed it, it's still trying to open, folks. It's a slow loading website. Whoever was responsible for building this website has done an awful job. Awful. Because I reported on Thursday, which was last week, which was a week after. Look, it's just still loading. A week after the website was launched, it had I repeat, it had no button for anyone to donate. It's still loading. It had no button for anyone to donate, nothing. When I pointed it out, instead of putting a donate button up, they put a news button. So you could push a button for news, it takes you a news page. Well, so what? And then the way it's designed, you can't even, now it's coming up. You see how long it took? That took initially 10 seconds to come up. That is the kiss of death in search. And it's still buffering as it forms. This is awful. Okay? This is absolutely awful. Here. This is absolutely awful. Okay? Schools over stadiums. Now, here's the kicker. Now they've finally got, guess what? A donate button. After all this time they had, or it says a name. Let's click on it so we're not fooled. Yeah. So they finally got, after a week, their donate button where you can put in $25, $100, $250, and $1,000. Okay. It's the typical political button. So it took them 9 days to get the donate button up after they announced the website. Loss. But then also, okay, big loss. All right. And then they finally got their SEO problem solved. Why? Because for all of those of you who are criticizing me and saying, hey, I'm being paid to do this, I was actually helping them by telling them what the problems with their website were, by telling them, hey, you know what, you don't got this. They straightened that out. But what could be done, because I've done it in one day, it took them a week plus to do. All right. This effort started out behind schedule because the governor signed legislation. The work on the bond issue has already started, and it will be launched 12 to 18 months. Now, let's think about that. The latest that this effort can hit the ballot is November of next year. That's from now beyond 12 months. This is late. Okay? This is late. They have to raise 1.2 million. Could they do it? Possibly. I mean, look, there's always somebody around, if you can find them, that feels like an effort like this is, worth dropping $1 million on, $1 million too. That's not the issue. Now, maybe even the city of Oakland might try to engineer it, which wouldn't surprise me. Okay. But then if they put up the money, they've got to get the signatures. And then the signatures have to be correct. They have to be accurate. All right. And then you have to get it on the ballot in time to be able to do something. But by the time that they do, the bond issue will be out in the wild. It will be too late to do anything. So I will bet you this organization winds up withdrawing this effort. Okay. So University of Mars asks, is there any way we can keep the A's name and get Vegas to rebrand? This would give us enough time to build a stadium and bring the A's back like Cleveland did for the Browns. That happened because of the work of Mayor Michael White. If a city has spent as much time as Las Vegas has had getting to know the Athletics, you think about this, okay? Think about this. You can't just make them rebrand, because the difference between the situation in Cleveland with Art Modell leaving and situation today is that back then there was no parallel paths. There was no warning that Art Modell was going to take the Browns out of Cleveland and make them wind up making the Ravens. Okay? That wasn't there. There was a court case that said, hey, by the way, you got to do this. Mayor Michael White did this without, an edict from a judge. Okay? Mayor Michael White made this happen, Cleveland mayor at the time. This was his thing. All you have to do, all right, Michael White, Cleveland. Okay. Michael R. White, former mayor of Cincinnati. He was the second longest serving mayor. Okay. Let's just type Browns in Cleveland's history. All right. The second one. Okay. And I might add the second black mayor. Okay. So he's done a lot for Cleveland, still with us, and is a legend. This was Michael White's work. Okay. What he did was he engineered a way to retain the team. All right. That's how. And okay. Cleveland.com news refers to a defensive blitz called by Michael White. The blitz, as they report it, went something like this. As I read it to you, it said, "Oh, please don't give me a paywall. Thanks." So all these paywalls running around, okay? And he said he did a number of things. First of all, apparently to this is detail now, but I'll brief it out for you. He asked Cleveland County voters to go to the polls to approve a extension of tax on cigarettes and alcohol to fund stadium renovations. And then he said that with that in hand, Cleveland could argue in court into the National Football League that the Browns had no good reason to leave. Okay. All right. And so he said that this, he said that White said the city is never given the chance, to do the stadium. Okay. And Modell said that his agreement with Baltimore was far beyond what Cleveland could match. And so and this talks about what the Browns would get and all that. Okay. And the defensive, I'm looking for the defensive blitz here. He said that Modell had been duplicitous, which kind of sounds like the A's case, but the A's can argue, hey, look, we weren't duplicitous. We were on parallel paths. This is good to read because this happened as Mayor White said, a thief in the night. Okay. And so he went up and Modell said that he was very deeply sorry. And he said it's been a tough road. And so he said that he was troubled. Modell said that the public and the business community may be led to believe that the sin tax extension will solve the problem when in point of fact, it would not. All right. And then they go on about the ballot measure. And he said that Modell had focused on the stadium renovation component, not White's attempt to also boost Modell's revenue at the stadium. And then the mayor said he repeatedly told Modell and minority partner Alfred Lerner, who wound up buying the Browns, that he was working on such a plan. And he said he talked to the phone with Lerner. He told Lerner that they're going to put a competitive package together on the table and that it would have no loopholes. And then the mayor, Michael White, told Lerner and the others, he had a conversation before the October 5th letter, and he's trying to keep the effort confidential because the city was still working on his package. All right. And so this goes on. This is a great detail, a lot of detail here. And it said, and it goes on to say, and I'm going down to where the matter of, the name and clevers came up. The governor, lifelong Brown fans, said that he represented, learning that Modelo constipated a package 10 days ago. They were all just rushing to catch up with it. That's far different, okay, from our situation, okay? Far different. So this part's about fans calling him a hypocrite and a liar, stuff that we hear today, right? Saying he's a dishonorable man. And all right. And so they went on, and it goes on here. And he discussed, the team's future. Modell did. And this is really long. It doesn't get to the point of it, but there's a lot of moving parts here that led to the day this happened. That happened. That they were going to keep the team. Now, this doesn't really explain. It explains a lot about who was involved, but it doesn't explain it. But there wasn't a court session that said, okay, this is what we're going to do, because this is the result of a jury trial. Okay. And this would describe as an unprecedented victory for Cleveland fans by Mayor Michael White. And what they agreed to was a settlement. Okay. And that's what happened. The settlement, and it was expected ratification by the NFL owners, and the legal advance between $28 million to $48 million to supplement Cleveland's $175 million in public money to build the new stadium. The 72,000 seat open air facility will be built on the same lakefront site of the Cleveland Stadium. In 1999, Cleveland will be awarded either an expansion team or an existing team that is not bound by a lease in another city. The team will then become the new Cleveland Browns and resume a history the league will hold in trust with all memorabilia and records until then. So they had the lawsuits going, and they dropped them. They had lawsuits by Cleveland, and the governor of Maryland got involved. By contrast, ours isn't involved. Gavin Newsom, okay? All right. So you had a number of very upset and very powerful people getting involved in the matter of the retention of the Browns. We didn't have that in Oakland. We never had, in either the Raiders case or this case with the Athletics, the involvement of the California governor. That all right? Okay. So that never happened. And then the one major difference between the Browns situation and the Athletic situation is that the A's in Major League Baseball were very clear as a bell, in saying we're on parallel paths. We're on parallel paths. So there's nobody that could say, you didn't tell us you're going to do this. They did. Now, Shang may not have liked that the Athletics made a deal in Las Vegas, but they had nothing in writing that said, hey, you know what? We're not going to sign a deal in Las Vegas because we're talking to you. That was never in their mind, and it was never on paper. And indeed, there was no implied contract except in Shang's mind, who's new to this. There was nothing in writing to bind the Athletics in that way. There's nothing in the lease that can tie to it. Plus, again, if you're working on parallel paths, and as Dave Cabo said many times on my show, we're trying to get something going. First it was, we're trying to see if we can get something going in Las Vegas. Then it's, we're trying to get something going in Las Vegas. And then it's, we're looking for land. All right. So you see the past pattern? If you're looking for land, while you're still talking to the mayor of Oakland and you're announcing you're on parallel paths, then the mayor's office should expect that at some point you're going to find that land or not. You're not going to, especially if, remember this is the other very important point. A year ago plus, the commissioner of baseball said just before Christmas of 2021, he said, I don't want to talk about Oakland. All right. He said, first, he said, we're focusing on Las Vegas. That was what he said that December. Then we came into 2022 and the city still didn't get it. November 20th of 2021, I wrote that the Athletics would move to Las Vegas for the festival grounds. I did so because the whole matter, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, but it's true. The city didn't do the tax increment financing zone it said it was going to do to help pay for infrastructure costs, both on-site and off-site, as well as community benefits. Then they turned around and tried to foist it on the Athletics. That's a heavy lift in an expensive area already, which only hate. And at that point, that's when, as I said, this is going to happen. Anybody that watched my show, I said the Athletics have started to heat up. I know they talked to you. Remember Guy Hobbs who was on my show? They started talking to Guy in earnest that August of 2021. And then they intensified their talks in 2022 toward the summer. And talks became meetings and planning. And I knew they were messing around with a kind of bond issue. I thought it was AB 10, but I was right. It wasn't AB 10. It was what turned out to be SB 1. Okay. So that's the difference. That's what makes it so, well, impossible to get the name and colors of the Athletics. Just as it made it impossible for the Raiders, because the Raiders were basically working on parallel paths along with the NFL. Even though the difference between what the league did and what baseball has done is that the NFL had that franchise contract, essentially, those franchise guidelines, franchise relocation guidelines. Remember those for those who are watching? Okay. And those guidelines and they were ruled by the court to be a contract between the fans and, in the case where they applied, the St. Louis Rams, which became the LA Rams. And the Rams breached the contract. So guess what? They had to cough up 700 plus million. Okay. All right. Whereas Oakland, and this really started with Libby, started using sports in these situations to put her face out there. She didn't have the standard task force. Like San Diego had a task force. Business leaders, political leaders, entertainment leaders, 40, 50 people on the task force. So you could say basically the whole city and region was involved. Okay. Why San Diego didn't choose to join the St. Louis lawsuit is a head scratcher to me. Oakland didn't join the St. Louis lawsuit because they had hired James Quinn and worked with him thanks to Ray Bobbitt, who paid his initial freight. And James was going to focus on an antitrust approach, which I was not in favor of. I thought the idea of trying to get the name and colors from the start was a losing proposition. A lot of people got mad at me, including Godfather Grizz, rest in peace. But my point was I would rather get the money and be able to start fresh than fight a battle in court on the basis of an antitrust argument that we already lost once. Okay. We already lost once when the Raiders left Oakland for LA. So why do we want to go back to that again? It made no sense to me then. It makes no sense to me now. And it was extremely esoteric. The judge looked at it, didn't trust him from the beginning. And with this, I don't know the man. Seems like a good guy personally, but in this case, all right. And quite literally turned the logic of the antitrust argument inside out. I'll save that detail for another time. It made us look bad. It really did. We should have just simply kept it simple. We didn't do that. So now what I think we should do now, I'll get to that second, but I'll just be clear. I think what we ought to do if I were mayor, or if the mayor called me, said, I need your help. What do you think I should do? I would say, first of all, let's finish Howard Terminal. Build it. Yeah, if you build it, they will come. Because then Major League Baseball can't say, hey, look, you don't have a venue. That's state of the art. You're not working on anything. We don't have convention space in Oakland worth blank. We don't have anything that shows that we can do a public-private partnership at a large scale. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Oakland has to prove it has the will and the initiative to complete big projects. All right. So I hope your University of Mars, I wanted to make sure that, and thank you for asking, wanted to make sure I got that question answered for now. University of Mars is not going to happen. J. Mark says, Soap and Oakland can't do. John Mark says, the whole thing got started in 77 when then Alameda County Board of Supervisors had Joe Bort told an Oakland negotiation team that he wasn't going to sign on a deal for the Raiders. Yeah, remember that one. Joe Bort. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, if Joe Bort signed to keep the Raiders in 77, the A's would have been going to Denver. Yep. And I think the main thing, though, is that I look at it as from a overhead view, John, we never had a plan to refurbish the Coliseum appropriately for both sports that we implemented. Now, we did have plans. So we never had a plan we implemented. We've been great at coming up with plans, but we've also been equally great at not using them. You got to read page 116 on Glenn Dickey's book, Just Women, Baby. I know Glenn. Yeah, I got to give him a call. Yeah, I think I talked about that with him in an interview I did with him in the Montclarian. Okay. Noah says, the Raiders always tried to win. A's always tried to make as much money as possible without winning. Carlos, do you think the Major League Baseball Players Association will approve the AAA Las Vegas ballpark as a temporary home for the A's in spite of the extreme heat? I think they'll find a way around the heat. Yeah. And I do agree. John Mark says it's possible. I agree with that. It says, give yourself a slap on the face before that $77,000. He's not, last glance, not talking about me. He's talking about the mayor. The mayor is asking for a $77,000 raise. It's coming before the finance committee this Tuesday. Ugh. Folks, I mean, we've gone from bad to worse. Okay. Now, I don't advocate slapping the mayor on the face, and I don't like the visual, so I would have to say, please, no. All right? Do not. Disagree, sure, but physical violence, threatening physical violence against a woman is not kind, it's not right, it's criminal. So I ask that you not think that. I ask that you not even consider it. I ask that you not even enunciate the idea anymore. All right.
I don't understand. Hey Siri, I asked if you're not even enunciate the idea anymore.
At any rate, Timmy says, laugh out loud. 10 years from now, Howard Terminal will still be exactly like it is now, with the city politicians, the port, and various groups arguing what to do with it. I think that's what the A's felt. That's right. Well, see, here's the problem with the Athletics. The Athletics got tired being bamboozled with the whole matter of, first of all, not having a tax increment financing zone because the city didn't implement it. And the city saying to them in these Groundhog's Day scenarios all the time, well, you have to pay for offsite infrastructure and then affordable housing. We want you to build, you know, 30% affordable. That's fine as long as you can use tax increment financing and it's done as a subsidy. But the city's thinking was they want the A's to pay for those entire units as opposed to a subsidy to lower the rental cost per unit of the buildings. There's a big difference, folks. Dave Cobble and I actually talked about that on the show, and he agreed that my reasoning was the better one. Most developers do. So that's why when I first got to know Phil Tagami, Phil said that everyone in town says Zennie gets it because I was economic advisor to Mayor of Oakland, and he said Zennie. That's the always thing. Zennie gets it. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of that. That's why I always say, hey, look, give me the chance. And I'm saying this to you, those who don't like to hear it. If I had ran this project, the Athletics would have broke ground on Howard Terminal. Let me continue. It says the city can't even maintain its own 911 call centers. Oh gosh, surely they can't get anything else done. And John Marks says, yeah, nothing's going on in Oakland. Well, what's going on in Oakland is it's like these small base hit things. The Oakland Soul is winning. The Oakland Roots are establishing themselves a home. But you see, the main problem in all of this, folks, is that Oakland continues to use an episodic form of sports economic development planning. What do I mean by that? That's politician led. The politician wants you to do something or wants something to be done to show that they are working on it so that they are not able to be blamed. That's far different from having a staff of people, a task force of business and residents and community leaders that are heading the effort to implement a plan to build a ballpark or a football stadium or some home for pro sports in Oakland. Instead, we keep losing sports teams. Quiet as it's kept, we lost the Oakland Panthers. They're now the Bay Area Panthers in San Jose. Why? Because we wanted to charge them more than they were willing to pay for a rental agreement. This is a small company. God love him. Executive Director Henry Gardner was trying to milk them rather than saying, hey, you know what? We will craft a plan of growth with you and we'll work on different ways, creative ways to help you make money at the Coliseum. That is how you get to yes. Okay. All right. We didn't do that. And there was no politician back there saying, hey, look, Oakland Panthers, stick around. Then Rebecca started with the WNBA, so it became Rebecca's thing. But who's the point staff person? Where's the sports commission? All right, Rebecca is Oakland at-large councilman Rebecca Kaplan. See, that's my point. In Oakland, too often, it doesn't matter if it's Rebecca Kaplan, my longtime friend. I can say that. But I can also be critical because this is a seriously bad time in Oakland. Or Larry Reed, who got me the job as economic advisor to Elihu way back in 1995. All right. That was his idea for me to work for Elihu. It was a great idea, I thought. So does Elihu. Just call me. I got to call him back later. All right. So, but it's always their project. It's not, and it was that was less the case when we had a city manager form of government, a council manager form of government, where it took 5 votes to oust the city manager. And so there was more stability. Now with a chief administrative officer in place, we just got Mr. Jensen just a few months ago. And out of 79 applicants, and what is he tasked to do? Well, he basically is the mouthpiece for the mayor, coming from Arizona and then Atlanta. And he's the person who wrote the memo authorizing this resolution to give the mayor $77,000 raise if the council votes for it. All right. So Shang hired somebody that she can direct and run over. He's new. He's just doing his job. Literally. Libby did the same thing with Ed Reskin. Ed was the once celebrated, then panned head of the San Francisco Municipal Railway Organization. They fired him. Seeking a lifeline, he turned to Libby, who he knew from a regional EMTC they were on, Metropolitan Transportation Commission. And she gave him the administrative job, chief administrative officer, and then literally hid him. You never saw him until that fateful October 20th day in 2022, where he gave this super awful Zoom presentation. Oh, it was so bad. Oh, my Lord. And when I saw him read that, I thought, you know what? He's out of here. He does not care. It was really bad, folks. It was about as bad as Molly Mayburn's presentation the year before at the July 20th meeting with the city and Alameda County regarding the Oakland Athletics term sheet. Remember that? Oh, okay. So, as Grant says, love Oakland, hate the people running Oakland. And says, J. Mark says, Oakland is nothing anymore. Now we have something. We've got the Grand Lake Theater. We've got one of the best place to watch a movie in the United States. 3200 Lake Park. We've got the Alley. Best steaks in Oakland. Just up the street. 3325 Grand Avenue. Oakland is a small town that is, in point of fact, physically a big city, but socially and culturally, it's a small town. It's easy to get to know people and get involved in certain things and find your little niche if you give it time. Oakland's great that way. So, yeah, it is all Libby's fault. Libby's, actually, no, Shang, this is different. What happened was that, and I saw some references to that, but look, Shang took Libby's playbook. Make herself the face of it. It's always about her. And if she gets somebody involved, as somebody that is known, like Steve Collar, to do negotiations or something. The standard playbook regarding retaining sports organizations, getting sports events into cities, was written decades ago. I used it for the Super Bowl. I built the Oakland Alameda County Sports Commission. Okay, all right. Why? The NFL said, hey, we need a nonprofit to work with. We had a nonprofit. We had the Commissioner Visitors Bureau, but I believe we need a sports commission, so I created it from scratch. I got federal government IRS approval in 4 months. They said it was going to take me 2 years. This is back in 1999. All right. It's faster now. So that's why I wanted to do this project. I know what to do. I believe I can do it. And I'm blank hole enough to get it done. That's why. And all I need are the resources, and I would have them in that case. I had some resources with the Super Bowl effort, and Jerry Brown admitted and apologized for not getting me the resources I needed. He did. For all the other stuff that he didn't do, he did do that. Godfather Grizz passed away of cancer 2 years ago, roughly. Very shocking. He's passed away way too young. And I miss him. We had a lot of good times together. I think there's some who would look at the naming colors, and that's like a huge thing, all right. But it wasn't for me. Okay. I felt that the main problem with Raiders fans who really died in the wall is they were too quick to form factions. They're too quick to dislike each other. I find there's a lot less of that among A's fans. And I think if we had been more like A's fans, I don't know if that would have made things better because ultimately the city seemed like it didn't want to do anything, but it might have. If and as I think about it, I think it would have because we were so connected as it was. A lot of great people involved with that, you know, a lot. So back disappointments. Yes. University of Mars says people want to dismiss Oakland now, but they forget the condition New York was in when the Yankees from 1970, 1980 were on the top of the world. Yeah, I think John Lindsay was the mayor. I didn't forget. Says, get the likes. Thank you. Yes, please like this and subscribe as well. Thank you. So it says, Zennie, that 400 million in grant money Oakland supposedly is going to get, I bet it's going to vanish. Well, the grant money that they're talking about, actually Libby got. And I have to check the legislation to see how that's disposed of. That's why I say, hey, look, if we gone this far, let's just form the TIF zone, form the plan for the ballpark, and just keep on going. And design it, you would say, well, who's going to pay the $1 billion, right, to get that part done? And I think we should put it out to bid. I really do. I'm serious about it. I think we should put the whole Howard Terminal idea out for bid, an RFP. In fact, the more I think about that, the more I like that idea. Daniel says, Zennie, with all your insight, you should run for mayor of Oakland. You know, I went to school to work for government initially, and I formed the idea a long time ago that, well, I'm more of a king and queen maker, and that politics is too important. He left to politicians. And I'm a guy who's out there, outspoken, and I'm not, I'm putting up all these fears in my head, which I shouldn't do. But I suppose it wouldn't have hurt, would it? Anyway, you always have to have the right backers. Thank you for the 2 bomb, Sir Chai. Thank you. He says, you can't you can see so many finicky Bay Area sports fans in the East Bay switch to the SF Giants, Sir Chai writes. Yet Brody and Casey would make you believe otherwise. Those two are going to be like Susan Slusser. Well, I don't know Brody. I know Casey. And I think what's going on, because Casey's a good guy. He's been fighting cancer, so I always give him, the positive end of the stick, if you will. But and again, thank you. I think, but as he put it, he has his take and I have mine. All right. But what they're doing is strategic as an organization. Now I'm talking about his boss, and that's ABC7. And they believe that by reflecting the view of you, the fans, you will turn in to watch them more often than if they didn't. If they were just simply telling the absolute truth and being critical. Okay. They made that determination. That's what they're doing. They're trying, and it works for them. It keeps their website numbers up, which keeps their ad revenues up, and so on. All right. That's what they're trying to do. And they're trying to do it in the middle of a time when media has been hurting. I get that. That's not, Casey does not run that organization. Brody does not run his organization. I get neither does Daniel or any of the people that are involved with this. I get it. The only place I don't get it is nonprofits like the Nevada Independent. So I thought they could have been more balanced than they were. I didn't think they handled the situation right at all. They were too quick to advance information that was bad. with respect to Oakland. All right. And all right. So Kathleen Kennedy of Disney. Oh, do you see parallels between Libby and Catherine Kennedy? Oh, I have to think about that. I don't quite know how to answer that. Because I don't know how to answer that because I haven't paid attention to the stirrings of Miss Kennedy of late. Um, but so I don't want to give you a blank answer, but that includes something that I don't know a lot about. I know who she is, of course, but I'm not fingertip comfortable intellectually with that subject regarding her as I am this one. Does that make sense? So I don't feel comfortable doing that. Um, why didn't the local business community in Oakland step up to keep the A's with dollars and media support? They didn't care, or they didn't like the management, or it just fell through the cracks. Well, they have to be marshaled. The business committee reacts when they're called. But I think, having said that, it is on the mayor to call, but it's also on the Oakland Chamber. And the way Barbara Leslie runs the chamber is such that if Libby had said to Barbara, "Can you marshal the community?" All right, she would have done it beyond what she tried to do. But what needed to have been done is for Libby to have a task force and then play, I call it the Robert Bob style of kumbaya. Robert Bob was our former city administrator. And he would say, "Look, I want get everybody in the room. I don't care if they are arguing against me. I want them all in one room and we're going to work this out." Libby didn't do that with the groups of businesses that comprise the Pacific Maritime Shipping Association that wound up being a thorn in the athletic side regarding Howard Terminal. That was a large mistake by the mayor. Got it. Okay. Granted says, is there any hope for professional sports to come back to Oakland? There is. You have to try. You have to form a plan. You can't react, and it has to be more than a politician. What Shang has to realize, Shang does not understand how to cultivate power. You would say, what do you mean? She's the mayor. Yeah, but she makes it like she's got to do everything. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Real power is getting powerful people in their way to work with you or for you on your behalf. That's real power. Real power is understanding how to cultivate that image by having that right group around you. That's why, if you notice, you ever say, "Hey, how come I might see this congressman or senator talking at a podium during a press conference and all these people are standing behind them?" Because they want you to know that they have an infrastructure of people behind them to get that something done, whatever it is. That's why. That's cultivating power. See, for Shang, she didn't have the whole business community say, "This is the business community of Oakland behind me. We are going to work to keep the A's." And this is something that Libby should have done before her. All right. And then said, "I tasked my project manager, Zennie Abraham, to take over. And he is going to be the executive director of the Howard Terminal Public Financing Authority." Then I have the meetings. Right now, the reason why you have quiet is because there's no yet. There's no organization like the Las Vegas Stadium Authority that has monthly meetings. And I say that because that's going to change this fall. Watch. It's going to change this fall. Whereas Oakland didn't have that. There were no monthly reports to the city council. There was no authority. There was no structure so that you could evaluate how things are getting done. And it's still the same way, folks. All right. It's a little better with respect to the Oakland Roots and their stadium issue because it's within the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority, which is like the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. But regarding getting a WNBA team in, it's still there as well. So, but there's no project manager that meets the public. Larry Gallego stays in the background. There's no public facing economic development czar to take the pressure off the politicians. That's how we used to do it. We used to say, hey, look, you're the elected official. The elected official is shielded by the experts. Now you have elected officials who they have to act like they're the experts. Libby tried to do that, and she fell on her face again and again and again. It was really sad to see. All right. So it says, I agree with the sin term out for bid, but my feeling is the city council and mayor don't care if there's a stadium on that land. Yeah, I agree with you and I have interviews with Alameda County Supervisor Nate Miley and council member District 1, Dan Kalb, who's running for state senate. We actually never heard of sports commission before. Sports commissions have been around for decades. So Eric Sterling says, hello, Zennie, I'm logged in for what's the latest news? Does Oakland still have a chance? No. Well, Kathleen Kennedy destroyed Indiana Jones and Star Wars and made it about her. Same with Libby in Oakland. Destroyed Oakland sports. Okay, I get you. I got to see Indiana Jones. I'm dying to see it still. I saw the thumbnails on YouTube about it. And then it says, what's the number one grossing movie in the world? I thought, let me look at that later. So it says, no structure, no direction, no help. With the market we are in, will Major League Sports give us a chance again? We have to form a plan. We started to, but just like we did with Coliseum City, we're talking about dropping the ball yet again. And guess what, folks? We still have a sea level rise problem that Howard Terminal was taking care of down there. We have it big time in East Oakland, which is really why I thought the A's should have stayed there, or Libby should have made the A's stay there. Big difference. And worked out a nice package for them to get that done. We have a situation where basically 1/3 of East Oakland is threatened by sea level rise. 1/3. That includes the airport, the business park. It's a ridiculous scenario. The stretch of the Nimitz Freeway that runs through it too, for 2 miles. Ridiculous. All right. So we have to make the market happen. He says, it's bad, real bad, and it is bad because we have here's the overarching situation we're in, and then I'll close this as we're getting to the hour. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Christine Lagarde is the president of the European Bank. 2 months ago, she gave a speech where she said, hey, look, don't have policies that boost incomes in the middle of a pandemic. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what she said. She wrote that. Then she said it. Okay. So I'm saying, well, how the heck are we supposed to maintain our standard of living? It's like she wants America to lower its standard of living. So we're killing all the efforts that we used to have to get people jobs, to subsidize businesses under this ideology by a European central banker. And yet we have a central banker ourselves who's jacking up interest rates and keeping prices high for you and me. That makes it hard to want to attend sports events. It makes bond issues more expensive. It makes our way of life more expensive. And yet no one is storming the gates. We should be. There you go. All right. Says, Zennie, do you see any local billionaires coming to save the day? No. I see if the best way to do that is to catalyze development. You don't say, oh, this person has $1 billion and they are or more, and they can spend their money. John Fisher's only worth $2.2 billion. Sheldon Adelson was worth 30. Gigantic difference. Mr. Adelson, rest in peace. A gigantic difference. You don't own a multi-billion-dollar sports organization and run it with money that would run out like that if you spent it out of your pocket. No billionaire does that. You need the involvement of cities and governments. And I know there are people who want the billionaire to pay for it, the billionaire themselves. That's not how it works. What happens is that the billionaire has the resources to get land in time, to buy the land, for example. You do that much, right? Get the entitlements from the city, working with the city. City comes into play. It doesn't matter if the land is public in the Oakland case or private in the Las Vegas case. It still involves government. Still, okay? So you want government to have some skin in the game. Why? Because it makes it easier for you to build that stadium, but then also field the team that's competitive so that your player development costs are affordable. You would say, why is that something a city should care about? Because the city has its name in it, or should. That's the one issue I've had with the Warriors being in Oakland. They were never the Oakland Warriors. So they could easily, anytime, take off and go over to San Francisco. Yeah, come on. It did hurt us nonetheless because they were playing at the Oracle Arena in Oakland. So whenever you do a search, hey, Oakland gets boosted or got boosted. Now it's San Francisco. And I predict soon it will be Las Vegas. Why? No gambling in California. That problem needs to be straightened out like that. So we have a lot of work to do. And Gavin should be all over that. But hey, look, I love the governor. He's my good friend since 98. He'll make a great president of the United States. He's got another idea in mind, but he needs to straighten out this issue and the movie issue. Because the movie industry is being siphoned from California like a string's being pulled from a ball of yarn. Okay? The visual hurts me. We're losing the meetings, incentives, convention, and entertainment industry in California before our eyes at the time that it's rising up throughout. It's the one hope that California has to maintain a middle class. Not the only one. Because they bring the conventions in. That industry provides the raison d'etre for convention centers, for stadiums, for arenas. Okay? So it's vitally important we maintain that industry. But these lower cost states around California, they're eating our lunch big time, including Georgia. All right? So we have to work on that. We have to work on a subsidy program, tax increment base. We have to plan some deficit spending. We have to bite the bullet, work with the federal government. We got to solve the homeless problem, not band-aid it. We have to create medical operations for those who need help to get them off the streets and where they need help. We have to make it so that it's hard for them to refuse. We have to invest in businesses. We have to get it so that people stop being incentivized to do smash and grabs. We have to have incentives so that you as a car owner can get a retrofit on your car so that it's harder for a person to do a smash and grab if they can do it on one at all. We have to take our business improvement districts and put cameras around them so that we can see what's going on. And those public rights people who say you shouldn't have a camera on the street are the same ones who will put a camera out to photograph the police doing a bad thing, which is a good thing if they do it. So why not put cameras out there that operate automatically? Of course we should. See, these are things that we have to do. We have to be jackbull enough and determined enough to do them. What bothers me is we're not. All right? So he says, Oakland isn't the only city that has a problem getting something done. The entire U.S. has the same problem, although some areas are worse than others. Yeah, it's like we've been affected by it. I'm wondering, I'm just going to spin a thought. I'm wondering if we become a bit too interested in what I would call the 21st century version of Timothy Leary's was it check out, check in, and I think what did he say? There was a term he said he had that's on the tip of my tongue. Timothy Leary is the famous doctor that created the field of psychedelics, as I understand it. And feel free to correct me here because uh, I don't want to say Timothy Leary. There he is. Yeah, the American psychologist passed away in 1996, May 31st. American known for his strong advocacy of psychedelic drugs. Okay, he had to turn on, tune in, and then drop out. Turn on, tune in, and drop out. Half the American labor force has done that. You can't even track them. They're in RVs, they're someplace, they're working online. You can't easily track them anymore. So how do we know our unemployment rate really is as low as they claim? With all these homeless people out here. Donald Trump, for the Trump to be the person leading the Republican Party, nothing against Mr. Trump, who's a great developer. But he's not a great politician. He's in and out for the buck, and he don't take prisoners. And I stole that line from Wall Street. So Oprah says the American middle class died a long time ago, probably around 1980. I would say late 90s. Actually, I would say it's not dead. It's still here, but it's in bits and pieces. Take a look at the construction industry, for example. It's there. It's there. I'll challenge you on that one. The blue collar is alive and well. Thank you. Follow the Roman Empire movies. See the first 10 minutes. No, we're not there yet. Not yet. There's a book on the great powers. Now we're on that path, but we can get out of it. Thank you. Tune in, drop out. That would be crazy if Vegas got the Warriors. It would be. But I think look, $10 billion leaves you a lot of room to do a lot of things, especially focused on sports. What do you think about this, B? I don't know what you mean, but look, there's nothing stopping Tim Lewicki, I've said it here on my program before, from giving a proposal to the Warriors, and I believe that will happen. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Whether or not the Warriors take it is something else, but they could. $10 billion, you're not going to see all of that money, but you need an existing popular team to generate the traffic numbers and visitation to pay off that $10 billion of private bond issues. All right, folks. Live long and prosper in your world. I love Star Trek, Stranger New Worlds, by the way. I'd love to get somebody out about that. All right. Tomorrow, Taj Tahombe. Yes, Taj will be on. Just remember, Taj will be on my show. Taj. I am excited to report that Taj will be on my show. And he will be on at 4:05 p.m. in the Pacific, 7:05 East. And then before Taj at 3:05. So I had this for an hour ahead of that. I'll have Dr. Daigu Balan, who is a psychotherapist. She's going to talk about mommy issues. And I've never had this kind of guest on before, so I'm really excited to have her on. She's a San Francisco Bay Area-based psychotherapist. That'll be at 6 o'clock Eastern and then 7 o'clock. So Taj is the former executive of the A's. He got fired last year. He's not going to talk about the firing, though. We're going to dance around all that. We're going to talk about the future of sports in Oakland. We're going to talk about his new initiative with Visit Oakland, the Oakland Convention and Visitors Bureau. Okay. Oh, that's exciting, isn't that? Hey, thank you all. God bless you all. Thank you. And hey, please, your investments, donations mean everything. If you want to, we're a C corporation. Want to buy stock? Please reach out, email. But it's 128 and I'm off. Oh, by the way, anyone ever check out the Lazarus Project? Whoa, what a great show. Okay, I'll see you all later. Bye-bye. That ends this broadcast.